Welcome to Mix and Plants and Crafts. My name is Rachel, and today we're going to do a repot of my plants that have been in Fluval into soil. That sounds weird because a lot of people use Fluval to move plants into semi-hydroponic like pond or possibly leca. And some plants I have in soil from the nursery setup that I want to move into my own mix, and I'll show you why that is a good idea. My plants cannot live in Fluval forever. I wish they could live in Fluval forever, but they can't. For those who don't know what Fluval is, it is a volcanic soil substrate that they use in aquariums and also for plants. It has a lot of minerals that plants tend to love, which is why I take my starter plants and move it into Fluval so that the roots can get activated and start growing. When you get starter plants, I feel it's a great idea to develop the roots first before you can develop foliage. When I purchase a starter plant, the root development is very tiny, not that much. Usually when I get starter plants, it comes in a plant plug, and that plant plug is very dense. Sometimes it's called a death plug where there's another netting around the soil. Listen, that's another topic for another day. I don't really like them, but I know a lot of people don't think anything's wrong with it. Everybody has their opinions on it, but I like to move them out of that starter plant substrate that it comes in because lately there is a shop that I like to shop at. They've been using Pathcal. It's like a sponge, and if you remove that plant from that substrate, it rips the root completely out. Very difficult to take out. I carefully take out the plant plug and then put the plant in Fluval, like this one. It's been sitting in Fluval for a while. This is what Fluval looks like when it's potted up, and this is what it looks like out of the pot. And the one thing that I don't like about Fluval is that it can break down into sand. That is what I don't like. If you leave Fluval in this pot for a longer period of time, it eventually will break down, and then it will become too dense for the plant, and then there's not a lot of airflow, which you want airflow. Look at these roots. Look at that. This definitely needs a repot. Wow. I Anthurium beechii, and you can see that it's starting to yellow, and that tells me I've let it sit out too long dry before I watered it, and possible it needs to come out of Fluval. And this one is a curly spider plant, and it's been sitting in the substrate. I ordered the plant in from the nursery, and it's a very dense kind of substrate. I don't like the substrate. I don't like it. It's too dense. And I want to put it into my fancy mix that I have. And my fancy mix is nothing big. It's just Fox Farm soil, some orchid bark, and pumice. I did put a little bit of activated charcoal in there. That's it. This one is my philodendron tortum, and this, look at the roots. Again, it's in Fluval. It is much needed repot. Oh, I watered this yesterday. I really don't know how long it's been since I had this in Fluval. I can probably look at my purchases to see when I got it and then gauge it from there. Okay. I'm not gonna rinse it. I'm literally gonna plop it like this into soil. I'm gonna leave a little bit of fluval remains in there just so the plant can still have, if possible, the nutrients still in there. So, um, anthuriums are one of my favorite plants, and look how fancy the roots are. Next plant is going to be this philodendron tortum. I don't know if I think I'm gonna end up breaking up some of these roots because it's too root bound. That was completely dry. Comparing the roots from the uh, Anthurium veitchii to the Philodendron tortum, look how finer these roots are. There we go. I think this plant would be happier in soil. It grown quite a bit for me with foliage while it was getting some roots, so that's a plus. So this one is another starter plant. It's giving me a new leaf. There was two other leaves that I just took out yesterday that was drying up. The Alcacia Jacqueline. This one, I have two of these. One, the bigger one that I had got bad spider mites, and this one was a starter plant that I got. I watered it yesterday because it was really dry. But I think it's time I need to move it into soil. This one, I'm okay with moving to soil. Just because it's really root bound. I think there's a corm in here as well. So I'm gonna just plop it out. This one is kind of a heavy. A lot of people move the alocasias into uh pond. I'm gonna move this back into soil, or I should say I'm gonna move it into soil. Oof. Wow, the fluval is very dense in here. There's another corm growing. There's another corm right there. All right, this is getting quite messy. All right, I'll water these once I'm finished. I think I need to wash my hands so I can do, well, the next one is still fluval, so I'm not going to wash my hands. This one's my varicosum. I had to chop this plant last year because it got spider mites and I was not watering it as much. But I've been rooting it in here and it's all sprouted out of the wet stick that I had it in, and I feel like I want to move it into soil. Yeah, that was easy. That's a lot of fluval. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave some fluval in there so I can put it into soil. There is a pothos in here. I'm just gonna leave it and just take it out when it gets bigger. We're gonna just put all of this into this pot because we're still trying to root. Well, they look nice. So going back to the topic of starter plants in fluval, I do like to take out the substrate that is in and put it in fluval. Also let it sit under a grow light and a heat mat underneath it because heat equals roots. as far as my experience goes, I do believe heat does equal roots. I'm gonna move on to the spider plants. Get it out of this soil and into my own. I will ask, how is spring treating you? Are you getting a lot of growth on your plants? I am seeing so much growth on my plants. I still got growth this winter, and comparing winter growth to spring growth, it is so much, spring growth is so much more, obviously. But when you see how much growth you can get in spring, it's like winter is always so hard. I guess that's why they say spring is the renewal. I mean, when you look at plants in spring, it's pretty awesome how the growth just changes. Especially tulips come up, and daffodils come up as well. And all your indoor plants can feel the heat. They just grow. Spider plant is so weird because there's a lot of chunky roots and some fine roots. Those chunky roots hold on to water. There's new growth happening on this plant right here. I think there's two plants in here. This is finished. These Hoyas, the soil again. I hate it. I hate the soil. It's so compacted and dense. I'm gonna change it. I did get two new leaves from this Hoya Lisa. And this one is not doing great. The leaves are, I don't know, it's kind of papery. So I don't know if it's doing well. Oh, well, no wonder. Yep. Mm. Oh, this is not really rooted. I'm sad. Oh, I am so sad. This is not really. Wow. Definitely, I am glad to be moving this to my substrate. This is all the roots I had on this plant. And this one. This is what greenhouses do, though. They give you a plant with not a lot of root. Now, I feel like this one root is rooting really well, but we're going to put this in. We're going to change the pot as well. Here is pullback, and I'm going to repot these two Hoyas, and I'm going to add a little pond to the mix to give it some weight. A little bit more airflow, maybe? Sure, let's go with that. Hopefully this will start growing soon. I'm actually going to put this on top of the heat mat as well to see if I can get some roots out of this. And now we do the Hoya Lisa that is doing well, actually. There's two new leaves right here and another leaf coming out on the right there. Okay, so I put some micans, philodendron micans in here, and they have rooted. I wanted to pot them up because I want them to grow. This is going to be my first time trying something like this where I just put cuttings in soil. I just feel this is the best way to go. I will put this, hi girl. I will put this on top of a heat mat as well to give me some roots. The last thing I'm going to repot is this Pilea peperomioides. There's two plants in here and it's in a tiny bit of soil and it seems to be doing really well. I'm just going to up pot it. I'm not going to break it apart. I'm going to leave it as two. That is so dense. I think I might break it up a little bit. Just a little bit. That looks like it looks good in here. The leaves are so nice and dark and plumped. And I have this begonia maculata that I've completely neglected because it's a propagation. And I'm just going to cut off that crispy leaf. It's been propagating in water and it needs to get put it up in soil. So I'm just going to do that now. These plants grow really fast. Now I'm going to clean this up and then we'll water. Hey, I'm back and I've cleaned up. So now I'm going to just water the plants. They're looking much better in the soil, and of course a bigger pot. So put everything in a tray and I'm going to just water it in here and let everything soak up and then move everything to the wherever it needs to go. All right, so I put this in this tray and I put a lot of water in here already because I want the soil to soak it up because because um when you put dry soil, when you pot things up in dry soil, it tend to be hydrophobic. So I'm gonna let the water get soaked up a little bit and then I'm gonna put it away. So I'll be doing that off camera and into its new place. So I'm gonna probably wait an hour before I take these out of this tray just so I want it to be soaked up, because I feel like it needs a good drink because some of these were quite dry. If you know me, you know I'm an underwaterer. I don't plan to be an underwaterer. I think I became an underwaterer because I just have a lot more plants to water now, and watering is a little daunting sometimes. It's relaxing at times, but at times it's not. Anyway, thank you so much for watching my little repot of these plants that I had in Fluval and some in some nursery soil. I will let you know how they're doing. And until then, I'll see you in my next video.